What I'll do over the next few minutes then is just talk to you a little bit about a few different issues. Firstly, the revenue challenges that we're facing within our business and how we're addressing them. I'll talk about the challenges that we're having with our customers and our customers are having with their markets, and also a little bit about technology and how we're looking to change the business and are in that middle of that process at the moment to address all of those different issues. Then look back over the last 6 months or so, and then a little bit of a look forward as well. So that's the general aim. There's probably no better way of summing up the challenges of our traditional media, and traditional media still make up an awful lot of our revenue, by looking at the declines in that revenue with regard to the money that's spent with PA over the last few years. Our total media revenues declined by about 15% in the last 3 or 4 years. And that's been made up of a decline of about 36% for our regional customers and around about 9% for our national customers. And I guess for those of you who are close to those markets, you'll have seen that firsthand. And those are net numbers, so that's after all the additional services that we've been selling to those groups of customers. So quite a big decline. And yet, nevertheless, over the last 4 or 5 years, if you look at our revenue, the revenue is flat. So the strategy that I've talked to you about on a number of occasions about diversifying our income and finding new ways of selling content to new markets and new customers is working in so much that although the bucket is leaking from revenue from our traditional media customers and shareholders, we're managing to fill that. And over that period of time, we've brought in around about 8 million of revenue from businesses like TNR, which we've owned for many years, and businesses that we bought more recently like Sticky Content and Globelinks, so that across the piece, the revenue of the company is just about the same now as it was 4 or 5 years ago. But that really doesn't reflect the huge amount of work that's gone on from everybody involved to diversify the business, to continue to grow new services, even for those more traditional markets that we serve. And you can see the challenges in those traditional media markets in the way that they are trying, newspaper groups and others are trying to find their way through the issue, which is all about fragmentation of audiences, and it's all about the way that people are consuming news, and that being different than the way it was traditionally, so that audiences are fragmenting, more and more people are consuming their content on digital and mobile and internet and in other ways. And that's making it harder and harder for the revenue side of the business, the advertising and copy sales side of the business. And so you see in a transaction that took place a few weeks ago where Trinity Mirror bought Local World, that really was about bringing 2 businesses together and then removing the duplication of costs to improve the financial outcome. It's probably not about finding a new way of selling more newspapers and selling more advertising in those newspapers, because that just is not the way that the trend is developing. You can also see companies like Nikkei buying the Financial Times in trying to grow their footprint away from just the Japanese market and much more into a global market. And then you have businesses like Axel Springer who've tried a different approach, which is to spend an enormous amount of money on digital startups. So they've spent not far short of €1 billion buying a business with a very small revenue stream, but apparently a great future in a company called Business Insider. And it's worth having a look at that product if you haven't seen it already. So an awful lot of money being spent, an awful lot of hard work going on, but at the moment nobody has found that silver bullet about how those traditional media companies can change and evolve their businesses. So that process is continuing, and all of it is being driven by the amazing changes that are taking place in technology. I think a couple of years ago now, when I was addressing colleagues up and down the country, we talked about mobile phones, and in those days, about 3/4 of you would have had a BlackBerry. Does anybody still have a BlackBerry? Actually, there you go. Okay. But they're not as prevalent as they were, and I guess the feeling is that BlackBerry will probably move to being a software company and stop being a handset company quite soon. But Nokia before that has vanished. I stood here a year ago. I think Tylo came up and modelled them for us the Google Glass, and Google Glass is gone. And there's no sense that is a business at all. If you bought a TV up to about 6 months ago, you would get a set of 3D glasses in the box. That doesn't appear to be the the future of television. That hasn't taken off. And yet other things have taken off and things are developing. And you think about Facebook Instance and the impact that's having. You think about these over-the-top services like WhatsApp and the like. Or you think about the way that you're consuming content, whether it's or buying services, whether it's using Airbnb for booking cottages or holiday accommodation, or using BlaBla to share a taxi, or Uber, or any of these apps, and all of this technology is disrupting the marketplace, and that's the same that's taking place in the media industry, and that's what people are grappling with. And if you want no better an indication about the challenges around that technology, there was a great survey the other day interviewing, I think, young people between the ages of about 12 and 15 about their mobile phones. And if I remember the survey correctly, there wasn't a single one of those young people that had ever thought of or considered using their phone to make a phone call, which is absolutely staggering when you think that that's what they were originally created for. And when they asked these young people about making phone calls, they said, well, that would be really weird to make a phone call. I just use it for messaging my friends and Facebook. And then one of them said, and anyway, I couldn't make a phone call in the classroom, whereas I can use all these other services while I'm at school. So, it's interesting in the way that these things are evolving, and we just don't know what's next. The talk is, and there were some great articles at the weekend, that perhaps virtual reality will be the next big thing. But it's hard to see how that might generate the sorts of revenues that we're looking for. So there's a huge amount going on. We're looking at all of these different developments. Many of you will be aware that a few weeks ago we bought a drone for PA so that we could take video and pictures in all sorts of different angles and ways. And I can see Pete already shaking his head. Does everybody know the story of the PA drone? Is anybody buying a drone for Christmas for friends or family? Or okay. So I think our drone, you have to get a pilot's license for to use a drone in the UK. And practicing with our new drone, I think did the drone hit a tree, Pete? Yeah. Yeah. Which wasn't the beginning and the end of it. It hit the tree, and then from the tree it ended up in the river. So I think the drone became a submarine, but we're getting a new drone in the next few weeks, which hopefully we will be able to finally get the pilot's license, and then we can really capitalize on that technology. So there's an awful lot going on, and we just have to keep on top of all of that and really understand what it means for our business and what it means for our customers' business. And at the heart of that are the changes that we're making in editorial. Pete, I think, has now completed his first year as editor-in-chief. And those who are involved around content and information in the business will have seen the changes that really have been driven through looking at the way that we operate, making sure that our customers understand, the value that we can provide to them, but that we understand what they would require from us. So one of the big changes has been the amount of dialogue that we're having with our customers, and really bringing that information back, and then making sure that that's reflected in the way that we deliver our services. And in many ways, when you're consuming content on a mobile phone, it's all going to be about the visual experience. So more and more and more, we have to have stories that are led by video, led by images, led by graphics, led by charts, led by data and information, as well as that great editorial that sits behind it. And so the drone is part of that. Our ability to generate all these great charts, the sharing, the work that we've done around Twitter and new media. That's all part of ensuring that all of the services are joined up and providing what our customers are looking for. And I think if you were to sum it up, we're trying to move from a world where we are multiple media to a world where we're multimedia, so that everything is connected rather than as just having lots of different channels of content and information provided in different ways. And we're also reaching out using the technology and the platforms to raise the profile of the PA as well. And it's been fantastic over these last 12 months to see the number of journalists from the PA that have been on TV and have been used as experts in their particular field. Whether it's Martin Ziegler talking about the corruption at FIFA, or whether it's people giving their views about the general election that took place earlier on in the year. So that's another important plank in what we're doing. And I think we've also changed dramatically the way that we're interfacing with platforms like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and the like. And a lot of that has been driven by Darren Waters, who I think left to take up a job in South Wales a couple of days ago, and that really has had a big impact on the business as well. But when we look back at 2015, despite all of those changes, some things don't change. The quality of the content, the integrity, the impartiality, the trust that our customers place in PA and everything that we do, whether it's in one of our commercial businesses or in our editorial operations, is still absolutely paramount to everything that we do. And it's been another quite amazing year. When you think about some of the news stories, it's very easy as we gallop through the year to forget about what's been going on, whether it's been FIFA, whether it's been the Russian athletes and the drug scandal, or whether it's been a lot of the light-hearted things as well, like Boris Johnson tackling that young boy in Tokyo and flattening him, and that great video and stills that we got, which were transmitted around the world. It's also been a year where we've started for the first time with our with trying to change the ethnic diversity of our employees, particularly in the newsroom, with the recruiting of 2 people that have come on our bursary for 2 years. And I met up with Olawale, who's a person of Nigerian origin. Is Olawale here today? Okay, who I think is the only Nigerian resident of Howden, and has come in on this 2-year course. And talking to him earlier on this week is really embracing everything that's great about PA, and really the opportunity that we've given him. And we'll do that process again next year. We're going to launch a new service with our friends from SBTV, which is a great channel for young people, and particularly people that are interested in music and that type of content. And we're going to launch in conjunction with them an SBTV news service. We're going to have 2 of our people based at SBTV, 2 of our journalists, and that will really give us a great insight into the types of content that young people and people of different ethnic backgrounds are looking for from news and information providers. And so that will, I think, will really help us as we craft and develop and change the types of services that we provide. And I talked earlier on about the diversity of our business, and really just to pick out 2 or 3 of those businesses that I mentioned earlier. But Global Links is probably, or in fact, it has had the best year, certainly since we invested in that company, having sold 25 new cameras to corporations and universities around the UK. TNR, which is a business that we've owned for a long time, that's in video public relations and supporting companies in exposing their brands to the marketplace, had its best ever November, and it's had its highest ever profit. And Sticky Content has had a fantastic end to the year, which, led by Sticky Content, but also in conjunction with TNR, have picked up a large contract from Coca-Cola, which is a fantastic global brand, and I think they got that news in the last few days. So that's that's a great start as we look towards 2016. And as we look forward to 2016, already in the diary are some amazing events. I guess the biggest of all will be the Brazil Olympics, but we've got the Euros, we've got the Ryder Cup, and then there'll be all of the news events that will just take place, the breaking news that has been so much a part of our lives this year. And the focus of the business will now be on organic growth, so trying to grow those new businesses that we've acquired, expand the customer base, but also to try and continue to exploit the fantastic content that we've got at PA. And one of the ways that we're going to need to do that is to change the way that our customers can access our content. If we think about the way that all of us access content in our private lives, we're looking at our mobile phones, we're looking at the internet, and images and pictures and text are all there together. And yet, time and again, when we think about the way that we traditionally serve our media customers, they're looking at a newswire service, which is text. They're looking at a pictures service, which is just pictures. They're going into another piece of technology to look at video. And so for a lot of young journalists, it's actually easier to just look somewhere else. And so time and again, when Pete and his colleagues visit our clients, they're not aware of this fantastic range of content that we have because they can't see it all in one place. So 2016 will be a year when we make a significant investment in our CRM system so that our customers can see all of that great content and aren't tempted to go elsewhere for that news and information. So that will be a very big project for next year. And then off the back of that, we can then drive new sales and new customers and really continue to grow and expand the business. Other things that will happen next year is we've got a couple of buildings that we don't require in Howden, which we were hoping to sell. Certainly one of them is under offer, so that's great news. And those of you that follow the news in this part of the world may have seen that a few days ago we got planning permission to convert the entire building, this entire building we're in at the moment, into a residential apartment block. That doesn't mean to say that's what's going to happen, but that is planning permission that we've now achieved. And over the next few months, we'll start to work out what we might do with regard to this building here. And options include doing absolutely nothing. They include going back and asking for permission to have 2 or 3 floors of office accommodation, or looking for different accommodation in London. So, and the reason behind those changes is because Westminster were closing the door on applications for new, for changing the use of buildings, and the value of a building for residential is much higher, and we own this building, so it's an opportunity to perhaps unlock some value. But as we develop our plans on that, then we'll talk to all of you. But there's nothing happening in the short term. It would be a 3 to 5 year project at its earliest. So no need to be ending the year with any concerns about where you'll be coming to work for the next few years. That's for sure. So an awful lot to look forward to in 2016. Some fantastic opportunities to continue to grow our business. We can't do any of it without all of the hard work of each and every one of you, both here in Howden, in Nottingham, and in all of our different satellite offices and colleagues up and down the country, and not forgetting our colleague Lauren in California as well. So there's, it's all down to your hard work. Thank you for all your contribution through 2015. The cumulative the cumulative outcome of all of that is that for those of you that are on the annual bonuses, the annual bonus scheme, we will have hit the maximum for that scheme. So if you're involved in that scheme, then the payments will be made as per the rules of that scheme in the normal way, I guess, with the December payroll. So that's a great outcome, and it's down to all of your hard work and efforts. So thank you for that. So it just leaves me to wish each and every one of you a happy Christmas. If you're spending time with your family or your friends, I hope you have a great break, and look forward to all coming back in 2016 for what I'm sure will be another amazingly challenging and exciting year at PA. Thank you very much, everybody.